Welcome to Boundless B, the Hemophilia B podcast, the podcast standing with you from a family like yours, presented by the Coalition for Hemophilia B, and in partnership with Balancing Life's Issues. This episode is brought to you by Hema Biologics. Hema Biologics is a privately held biopharmaceutical company focused on the rarest bleeding disorders. They aspire to support patients living with these disorders, partner with the broader community that cares for them, and bring meaningful treatments and services to help better patients' daily lives. Today we're joined by Dina Lipinski to have a conversation that brings us into the heart of what it means to live with hemophilia B complicated by an inhibitor, a condition that is, in many ways, the rarest of the rare. While many may think of hemophilia as simply a bleeding disorder, the realities for families facing severe cases like Dina's and her son Tyler's is far from simple. For them, a single bleed can mean days of infusion, sometimes as often as every 3 hours, round the clock. These are not just numbers, this is life interrupted. Missed days, missed sleep, months and even years spent in hospitals, the constant presence of uncertainty and fear. The financial cost alone is staggering, often running into the millions. But the emotional cost, watching your child suffer, confronting moments of deep despair, and navigating a healthcare system that often falls short for the people who need it most, is even more profound. In today's episode, you'll hear Dina speak with optimism and hope, a perspective she's had to cultivate over the years. But before we begin, I want to acknowledge the weight of what families like hers face every day. This journey is defined by resilience, but it's also marked by sacrifice. This is the reality of hemophilia B with an inhibitor. And as we listen to Dina's story, let's hold space for both the hope she shares and the difficult truths her family, and so many like them, have had to endure. Welcome to the podcast, Dina.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course, it's so wonderful to hear you because I know the community knows all about you, knows all about your story that you've been telling for years, and it's just so good to get this, imprinted, I guess, forever, to be enjoyed. So I guess, if you could just take us back to that moment when Tyler was diagnosed with hemophilia B, talk to us through those initial moments of what I assume were shock.
Well, yeah, it really was a shock. It came out of left field because we had no family history. And so when I had Tyler, he got diagnosed 2 days after he was born. I was told he had hemophilia B, factor IX deficiency, and then sent home, really just not sure what in the world. I mean, I was really freaked out. I was a single mom. And first time mom. So yeah, it was really, it hit me
There are
hard.
already plenty of anxieties as a first time parent.
So many anxieties. I know. I was like, okay, but you know what? Thank goodness Google had just come out. And so I got on and I'm researching and everything. Mm-hmm. And so, it is what it is. And so I just dove right in trying to learn as much as I could. That's where my journey started.
Yeah. So it sounds like maybe one of those biggest challenges initially was lack of information or access to information that would help you. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm so happy that families nowadays have all the resources that they do. It was harder to get access to their information and everything. Mm-hmm. And so I just needed to find people. That was my main thing. I just needed to know what in the world's going on and what do I do? And so other parents were my lifeline.
Yeah. And I'm so glad you're saying that because that's the purpose of what we're doing here with Boundless B is like it's this idea of community and bringing people together. And, for those who are maybe apprehensive stepping through that door into the Coalition for Hemophilia B, it's just it's the point, right? It's why we come together around this. So I guess, part of this story is the inhibitor, right? So when did you find out about that? And were there warning signs?
Well, so I was fortunate enough to go through what they call the honeymoon phase. So you get diagnosed a lot of times when they're first born, and then they don't typically have their first bleed, what we call the honeymoon phase for 6 months or a year or something. And so that gives you a little bit of time to kind of adjust to new reality. And so at 7 months, I put a port in him so I could be doing home infusions and get him on prophylaxis. And that was really exciting. Mm-hmm. And then the first day, and he was getting factor throughout the whole surgery. Everything was fine. And then the first day we accessed his portacath, he had an anaphylactic reaction and the inhibitor popped up. And
Oh,
I had no idea what was happening. He had hives. I didn't even know what hives were or what.
yeah,
I mean, I knew I'd heard of them, but
sure. Never seen them.
wasn't prepared. It was just out of left field. It
Yeah,
was so then that became our new normal in
yeah,
reality.
yeah.
Where do
So
I go from here?
the challenge just got even more challenging.
Oh, yeah. Just reaching out to my local chapter in Arizona, that was my first step. And from there, it just, it just grew. But that
Yeah,
was really, really important because as much as you want to just kind of retreat and try to overcome or handle it yourself, and you go through that kind of phase, once you do reach out and you start getting active in the
yeah,
community, it's all the difference in the world. It was the
yeah.
best thing ever, and I don't know how I would have survived without our community.
Another plug for
I know,
the
I'm really
coalition.
good.
I'm so glad. So I guess were you able ever to discover how many patients have an inhibitor in the U.S.?
So I know what it was then,
Yeah.
or approximately what it was then. Now I actually did go online and I was looking, and the latest I had heard was about 150. When I went online, I think it was about 150 to maybe 210,
Yeah.
but somewhere in there. It's still a very, very small population. Just finding other B inhibitor patients, it lets you know what our options are, and also relying on some of the older parents and what should
hmm
I be asking and stuff like that.
Yeah. I guess I would say I doubt you ever overcome the fear
Mm,
and challenges of this, right? Being the mother and to Tyler and helping him navigate this for the last 25 years, but there has to be an element of managing those fears and challenges, right?
yeah, and right when you said ever overcome, it's crazy. I actually right now feel really good.
That's great.
Rarely do I get thrown a wrench
Uh-huh.
anymore or something out of left field because we do have our standard treatment of care. When he was younger, I hadn't established all that yet,
Sure.
and the treatment protocols were much different than they are now. Things are so much better for the inhibitor community now. That's the one thing about the early days that I just look back and I wish I could hug myself because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no,
Uh-huh.
it would get better. It gets better.
Yeah.
It gets easier. That's what I love to tell newly diagnosed inhibitor patients. It does get easier.
Mm.
Like you will get to a sense of feeling confident and secure in what you're doing and knowing what to do.
Yeah, so it just sounds like that parental advice you would have given yourself back then, but also to, parents who are new to managing hemophilia B and inhibitors.
The main thing is just getting the confidence in yourself and knowing that believing in your judgment, trust in yourself and the decisions you make, you know what's best for your child or for
Right.
yourself.
hmm
And you have to have confidence in that because it really is true.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that goes back to a lot of the self advocacy that
Hmm.
those navigating hemophilia B have to do, especially in the healthcare professional's office. It is something that can get brushed aside.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's no one person that knows exactly what to do with an
hmm
inhibitor, a B inhibitor patient. Like, I mean, there are some providers that have a lot more experience and people who I personally do trust their advice and opinions and have been go-to people over the years. There's also a lot of trial and error.
hmm
And also not getting discouraged. If something doesn't work, there's other options. You know what I
Right.
mean?
hmm
So, and sometimes it may even require doing stuff that no one else has done, and that's okay.
hmm
Like we did that with Tyler. Like I
Yeah.
did a lot of stuff as at first, but somebody's got to be first, and
hmm
it worked. And
Yeah.
so you don't know till you try.
So I guess in terms of like navigating new with Tyler, if we could talk about Tyler, you know, as the father of a 1.5-year-old,
Hmm.
I know the transitions are challenging and obviously even more so for if you're navigating what you guys did. So I guess just talk to us about how did school go? How did those transitions go? Like, was he playing sports? Like, what level of um, control did you have over his day to day once he wasn't necessarily around you all day anymore?
Oh, so I think entering school was a really, really big challenge because
For you
having no
personally or for the
control.
both of you?
I'm Tyler takes everything like, I mean, he doesn't. No, for me, it was for
Okay.
me,
That's
just
fair.
because. Well, remember also though he was like kindergarten or even
Mm-hmm.
preschool, and giving your child and putting them in the hands of somebody who's not you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I definitely just made sure that I was very prepared for him entering school and met with the administrators, staff, teachers, nurse. I actually went in with a team of people, like
Wow.
social worker. We had a social worker from our hemophilia treatment center. I mean, I went in prepared
Mm.
to establish an IEP, or some people do the 504. First, I met with just the nurse and the teacher. I didn't want to overwhelm them at first and
Yeah.
just started teaching them. I brought in great literature I found online, resources to give to the school.
Mm-hmm.
I even had like ones that had little pictures, and I needed them to work with me and us be a team. And establishing an IEP was huge,
Mm-hmm.
and asking for accommodations and setting up, some basic rules of things like if he asked to go to the nurse, he needs to go to the nurse. There's no question. Send
Yeah.
him to the nurse.
Mm-hmm.
And some things like that. So that made me feel more confident. It made them more confident because they were really stressed.
Right.
So all having such a great relationship with the teachers was really good because they were worried. And I'm
Yeah.
like, it'll be okay. And so I'm kind of comforting them.
Yeah,
But
you're talking them down.
I know, I really am. I'm like, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. It's a slow process.
Yeah, but
It's a slow.
you're also reaffirming those things in yourself when you do that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And Tyler would get up, since kindergarten, he'd get up in front of the class when they introduced themselves, and he would give his stick about hemophilia. And he was never shy about it or embarrassed. There were some challenges, but I feel like every year we got better and better. Over time, his accommodations and things I would ask for were increasing. And by the time he got to like high school, I mean, oh my gosh, I can't even believe all the stuff we were getting from the school, but you don't know unless you ask,
Yeah.
because every child is entitled to an education.
Yeah.
And so if your child needs certain things to fulfill that, then they're entitled to
Yeah.
that. And the school needs to give it to you. And
Yeah.
I mean, and this is where being assertive and being
Mm.
a good advocate is very important.
Yeah, yeah. But so I guess from what I'm hearing, that the little bit you've said about Tyler, it seems like he's been able to stay so positive.
I mean, I don't even know how. He's amazing. He is resilient. And I mean, I feel like we're definitely at a point now where he's comforting me more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he copes so well. Humor. I mean, we're big on, we love to watch, comedy movies in the
Mm-hmm.
hospital. That was our thing. We love cracking jokes and just finding the humor in these really crazy situations.
Mm-hmm.
And Tyler is the king of jokes and movie quotes. And so I'm just constantly amazed
Yeah.
by all the stuff that he's had to deal with and how positive he is.
Mm-hmm.
And like our hospital gave us these little cards, so we got to streamline going into the ER because he needed to get in right away, so we didn't have
Mm-hmm.
to wait in line. So we had this emergency patient to bypass in the ER. So Tyler named it his Fast Pass,
Like
like
he's at
Disney.
Disneyland or saying.
Yeah, his
That's
Fast Pass.
funny.
I know. So he always finds,
Yeah.
little things to make me laugh. And he was like, thought it was great. He got a
Mm.
Fast Pass. And I'm like, it's the little things.
Yeah, absolutely. But I guess you have to acknowledge that that's learned behavior, right? It's not like he just was a positive person. I feel like that was imprinted
Yeah.
on him, right? I mean, the way your family bond and your family structure worked, that had a positive impact on him navigating that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, because that's the thing. If you're stressed and I mean, they know that from early age. I think, that goes for all parents.
Yeah.
So they're little sponges and they can read a room. And
Yeah.
so
They can feel the energy in a room. They might not be
absolutely,
making memories yet, but they are responding to
they respond to
the
you.
energy. Yeah, absolutely.
And so I needed to stay positive. I need to try to make light and keep the room, a little lighthearted in these crazy situations. Also, so he wouldn't get scared.
Right.
So even though I might have been freaking out, they listen to you. And so then all of a sudden, Tyler's all these things I know I've said, all of a sudden he's saying it sounds better coming out of him because it's really his story. But it's great. And I think just making the best, I mean, if you're not laughing, you're crying. So it is what it is, right?
Yeah. That extended network that you were just talking about and how everybody is on the same page and about how we're managing this, I think it goes such a long ways. And, I think it's just an important piece of this puzzle. And we can get in trouble with toxic positivity. In being and like sugarcoating things, so to speak, right? So there is a delicate balance. Did you ever find that maybe sometimes that balance was a little off? Maybe we were being too positive about this, or like, how did you pragmatically approach it? Okay, great.
Yes.
Short, full answer. Yes.
Yes. I remember early years saying, I feel like it's really important that we talk about some of this more serious stuff.
Yeah.
And why is no one talking about this? I've gone through different stages.
Sure,
and
of course.
you have to be careful not to overwhelm people because everyone's at a different stage. And it's too easy to kind of go in that, woe is me, or, doom and gloom, and go down the rabbit hole. And, whenever you start feeling yourself do that, you got to get yourself out right away because it doesn't do any good. There's a balance between being totally prepared as much as you can be and accepting, there will be some challenges and some bad times.
Life is going to happen.
It's going to, but it's how you react to it.
Yeah.
And it also, this too shall pass. You'll get through it. And no one, and I never want to minimize because, I mean, I'll tell you what, I've had my times in some dark places and just really struggled. I think mental health has been a huge thing to deal with. And Ty's had his struggles, over the years. And I have too. Thank goodness. I feel like it's always kind of opposite when one of us is, others not.
Yeah.
And so it's going to happen. There's no shame in reaching out and finding support. Stuff like that, resources like that are really helpful because talking to people who aren't the parents and or even, peers. I know Tyler's gone to some of the older guys at times in his life who have been really helpful when he was kind of struggling. And having peer support really made a big difference for him.
Yeah, the holistic approach to our health. I think sometimes it's just as easy as acknowledging how you feel, but having that backbone or that person or that peer that you could trust to go to who knows exactly how you feel can be life-changing. And I think that's a lot of what you've done, bringing the communities together and, getting Tyler these resources. And I guess as we've painted this 25-year picture of Tyler and, his transitions, but there are also your own transitions. So I wanted to maybe end with some parenting wisdom to those out there from hands-on caregiver to more of a guide. And, what advice do you have for parents making that transition with their child?
One of the main things, especially for this very rare community, is making sure that when you're ready, knowing that there are resources out there, and even with the B inhibitor community, we have Facebook pages where it's just for people affected. So it's just where we share information. There's inhibitor summits, and even the B inhibitor community, we have meetings just for ourselves. For me, that's always been the most helpful, is finding other people going through what we're going through. And like Tyler and I were just at an event, and I just always walk away feeling just so inspired, and just, I mean, and Tyler gets so much out of it himself. I just think that reaching out and getting involved, I think the coalition, when you were talking about the mental health, that's one of the things I've always been really impressed is how on top of things are relevant to the community, that the Coalition for Hemophilia B, they're always on top of that. And mental health was something that they really addressed a few years ago. And so I always love that I can refer back, and they have been such a huge part of our lives and helping me find resources and connect with other people that, because you ask around and people say, oh, you should talk to this family. Oh, they're going through something similar. And so that has just been really helpful. And just staying positive, it really does get easier.
What a beautiful place to wrap it up. And this has been Boundless B, the Hemophilia B podcast, the podcast standing with you from a family like yours, presented by the Coalition for Hemophilia B and in partnership with Balancing Life's Issues. This episode was brought to you by Hemabiologics. Hemabiologics is a privately held biopharmaceutical company focused on the rarest bleeding disorders. They aspire to support patients living with these disorders, partner with the broader community that cares for them, and bring meaningful treatments and services to help better patients' daily lives. For more information on upcoming CHB community events, just go to hemob.org and click on Get Involved, then Upcoming Events. And thank you so much to our guest today, Dina.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And until next time, everybody, take care. This episode of Boundless B, the Hemophilia B podcast, presented by the Coalition for Hemophilia B, is made possible in part by the support of CSL. We thank CSL for their continued commitment to the bleeding disorders community. This episode of Boundless B, the Hemophilia B podcast, presented by the Coalition for Hemophilia B, is made possible in part by the support of CSL. We thank CSL for their continued commitment to the bleeding disorders community.